The camera fades in slowly, the sound of boots striking the cold concrete echoing through a vast training hangar. The lighting is dim, shafts of sunlight slipping through high windows, illuminating rows of recruits standing stiffly at attention. Their eyes are fixed forward, but the tension in the air is thick, humming like static before a storm. The voice of the SEAL captain cuts through the silence like a blade. Any combat pilots here? His tone is steady, commanding, yet searching. The question lingers for a moment, hanging in the air, daring anyone to answer. For a few seconds, no one moves. The silence grows heavier, and a ripple of nervous laughter almost breaks among the recruits, as if to say, combat pilots. Here, among us, impossible. Then, quietly, almost too quietly to be noticed at first, a single figure shifts. She rises, a young woman, barely in her late 20s, her uniform clean, but worn from the edges of long service. Her posture is steady, her eyes unwavering. There is no arrogance in the way she stands, only quiet certainty. The entire room falls into stunned silence. The other recruits exchange looks, some smirking, some frowning in disbelief. The captain narrows his eyes at her. "You?" he asks. "Yes, sir," she replies, her voice firm but controlled. "United States Air Force combat pilot F-16. 2 tours overseas. Call sign Raven." Her words ripple through the hangar like a shockwave. Suddenly, the whispers begin. "She's joking, right? No way. A combat pilot. Her." But the captain doesn't laugh. He studies her, his face unreadable, the weight of her claims settling into the silence. And then, slowly, he nods. Step forward. She walks to the front, her boots striking the floor with a rhythm of confidence built on years of training, of missions where one wrong move meant never coming home. The recruits fall silent now, watching her with new eyes, some with respect, others still with doubt. The captain circles her like a predator sizing up its prey. "You say you've flown combat?" "Yes, sir." "You've looked the enemy in the eyes?" "Yes, sir," and fired when it mattered. There's a pause, a flicker in her eyes, not of weakness but memory, of skies lit with tracer fire, of split-second choices, of voices on the radio that went silent forever. She swallows, and then she answers, "Yes, sir, I have." The captain stops. His expression softens, if only slightly. "Then prove it. Not with words, with action." What followed was no ordinary drill. The SEALs were training for a high-stakes simulation, ground-to-air coordination. It was the kind of exercise where precision and trust decided everything. The recruits thought they were going to just observe. But with Raven stepping forward, the game changed. They gave her control of the simulated strike coordination. She stood at the map table, her hands steady, her voice sharp as she commanded movements. Her calls were precise, crisp, the tone of someone who had lived through the chaos of combat and learned how to master it. "Bravo team, advance Delta, hold position. Fire mission, grid coordinates locked. Strike in 3, 2, 1. The simulation lit up in perfect synchrony. Ground units moved like clockwork. The air support hit target dead on. The recruits who had doubted her could only watch, wide-eyed, as the impossible unfolded right in front of them. The captain said nothing. He only watched. And when it was over, when the dust of the exercise settled and the monitors showed flawless execution, he turned to the recruits. "You all smirked when she stood up," he said quietly. His voice carried not anger, but something heavier, disappointment. "You thought strength was loud, that it walked with swagger, that it looked like muscle and arrogance. But strength can be quiet. Strength can walk in with nothing but steady eyes and a past that speaks louder than words." The room was silent. Every recruit stood still, their earlier doubts now burning with shame. The captain turned to Raven. For the first time, a faint smile crept onto his lips. "You're not just a pilot, you're a warrior. And these men and women, they do well to learn from you." That night, in the dim barracks, whispers floated again. But this time, they were different. "Did you see how she ran that op? She didn't miss a single call. She's the real deal." But Raven didn't bask in it. She sat quietly, polishing her boots, her face calm, though behind her eyes were memories she rarely let surface. She hadn't stood up today to prove herself. She had stood because when the captain asked if there were combat pilots here, she couldn't deny the ghosts of her past, the comrades she had lost, the skies that still haunted her dreams. She stood because she had to honor them. Days passed, and respect slowly replaced doubt. The recruits began seeking her guidance, asking how to stay calm under fire, how to silence fear in the middle of chaos. She never bragged, never raised her voice. She taught them quietly, showing them that real strength was not in shouting, but in steady action. Not in pretending to be fearless, but in moving forward despite fear. The captain watched all of it. And one evening, during a final drill, he gathered the recruits again. "This woman," he said, gesturing toward Raven, "has done what most of you will never understand. She's carried lives on her shoulders, knowing one mistake could cost them all. She's faced skies full of fire and still flown through. Remember this: when you judge someone by the surface, you're blind to the battles they've already fought." The story could have ended there, but the truth is, it wasn't about drills or training or proving anyone wrong. It was about one moment in a silent hangar when a single quiet voice stood against disbelief. A moment that reminded everyone that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the steady voice that answers when no one else will. And Raven, she didn't need applause, she didn't need validation, she knew who she was. A combat pilot, a survivor, a warrior who carried her scars with quiet dignity. As the screen slowly fades to black, the voice of the narrator carries the weight of her story. In the end, she didn't rise to impress anyone. She rose because the truth cannot remain silent. She rose because strength, the kind that leaves you stunned, often comes from where you least expect it. The music swells, low strings, building to a quiet but powerful crescendo. And then, the final words appear on screen. If her story moved you, share it. Leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of courage, sacrifice, and the quiet strength that changes everything. Fade out.